This video is going to be about how semen retention got me jacked. Now, before I actually break into how semen retention got me jacked and how hopefully it can do the same for you, I first want to clear up the issue that you might say, you're just pulling this out of your ass. You're just making this stuff up. You're just picking and choosing what you want to believe so that it supports the way that you want to live. And I understand, I do semen retention and I lift weights. So yeah, I'm a little bit biased, but not only is this stuff that I've been researching for the past 4 or 5 years straight, extremely meticulously, extremely in depth, but also I took what I learned about how semen retention would potentially support my athletic performance in and out of the gym, but also I applied it myself. I saw the changes that happened in my body on the outside, but also internally with how I felt, which is actually even more important. So no, I didn't make this up. I researched this stuff heavily for multiple years and I'm still learning more and more every day. But also, even more importantly, I applied this stuff. So I'm not speaking out of ignorance. I know where I speak of. The changes that you're going to experience if you do semen retention and you pair this with trying to build a strong, muscular, athletic physique, it's going to change you on 3 main ways: hormonally, mentally, and even more importantly, fundamentally, energetically. So it's going to operate on your hormonal system, your mental systems, and your energetic systems as well. But once again, before we break straight into the 3 key points here, semen retention is not the antidote to a crappy lifestyle. You can't just hold your nuts for 25 days and just expect that you're going to magically blow up into Arnold Schwarzenegger or Ronnie Coleman or C-Bum himself. That would be amazing. And if that were the case, I would tell you. That's actually a lie. I'd probably keep it to myself. But semen retention as a tool in your utility belt is simply a way to put your progress that you were already making in the gym and put it on steroids. Semen retention only works if you do. Enough said. So understand what I'm about to break down for you. It will make sense. But it's only going to work if you're applying it with all the other fundamentally good lifestyle habits that will be conducive of building a powerful, strong, lean, healthy, athletic physique. So I think that's obviously no brainer. We don't even need to bring that point up, but I'm just for some fucking trolls in the comments, you're saying because you have a full ball sack, all of a sudden all your life just your physique just changes. It's no. There's still work to be done, and the best way to put it is that semen retention as a tool in your utility belt only works if you do. So, firstly, and one of the most powerful ways that semen retention it's going to change you from the inside out. It's going to change your hormonal system in your body by modifying and resensitizing your androgen receptor density. I know that's a mouthful. I know it sounds very, very sciencey, but I'll try to break this down in layman's terms for you. So semen retention makes your body listen to testosterone better. If you've been lifting and you kind of know a little bit about how the human body works, you probably know that in order to make really, really quick, consistent progress in the gym, you do need to optimize your testosterone levels. You want high testosterone. The higher testosterone, usually the better. And there's a cap on that, but unless you're taking performance enhancing, substances, you're usually not going to go above that healthy range. So you want higher testosterone in general. But that's only half of the picture. It's only half of the story. The reason you want higher testosterone levels is because the more testosterone that is flowing through your bloodstream, that means that testosterone has the capacity to get inside the cell, to go into the cell and act on the cell in the way that testosterone, which is an androgen, testosterone is a hormone that is called an androgen, goes into the cell, into the androgen receptors inside the cell, and expresses itself as testosterone sees fit. And what this is going to look like if you have healthy testosterone levels or high testosterone levels is that the testosterone, as you stimulate the muscle, as you go into the gym, as you sleep well, as you get in the right nutrition, all these habits that are conducive of building a powerful, good-looking physique, the testosterone is going to go into the cells and help your body through that recovery process to build an amazing looking physique. It's going to help the muscles grow. It's going to help your body stay lean. It's going to want to hold on to muscle, not fat. These are just some of the benefits or some of the things that testosterone does in, a healthy male body. But again, like I said, that's only half the equation. Not only do you need a healthy amount of testosterone floating through the bloodstream to do its thing, but even more importantly, your cells need to be able to open up and grab onto the testosterone that is floating through the bloodstream. So the testosterone is going through the bloodstream, just floating along, and then your cells go, and they just they latch onto it. And only once they latch onto the testosterone can your body actually utilize the testosterone and use it as a tool to build muscle, lose fat, all the cool things that go along with having high testosterone. You still need to be receptive to the testosterone. And that's where there's a lot of confusion about this retention stuff, semen retention, NoFap, boosting your testosterone. Everybody brings up that freaking 15-year-old Chinese crap study where for 7 days they were like, when men don't ejaculate, it goes up and up and up 147%. And then at day 7, you hit the peak and then it goes back down to baseline. That's probably true. But what they don't talk about is that even though your testosterone goes up, and then it flatlines back down to not low, but to your baseline of testosterone, whatever it was, your androgen receptors are 2, 3, maybe even 5 times as sensitive to that regular level of testosterone that you already have. If this seems complicated, basically what happens in your system, hormonally speaking, is that your testosterone really doesn't go up that much. It might personally for you, but I don't want to tell you that just because you hold your nuts in, your testosterone is going to go up. It's probably going to stick around the same of what it was. But what is even more important and how this directly translates to you building a powerful muscular physique, getting jacked, is that every single cell in your body, as you walk the path of celibacy, semen retention, and sexual discipline, is that your cells become more and more and more sensitive to utilizing the testosterone that you already have in your system. So you don't boost the number of hormones in your system, but you're optimizing the hormones that you already have. And this sounds cool in theory. It's like, well, what have you actually experienced? Well, to be honest, I fully experience this. Whenever I get disciplined with holding my nuts in, with being sexually disciplined, with staying away from the websites, obviously, and even staying away from women. I'm not saying any of these things are morally wrong, but the motivation, the drive, the depth of energy and presence and power I feel really can only come from having high testosterone or feeling high testosterone. That's the key. I generally have pretty healthy hormone levels and high testosterone just because of lifestyle habits, but especially when I become sexually disciplined, it's put on steroids, pun intended. Your body makes its own freaking steroids. Your body creates the building blocks, everything it needs to recover. You just need to stop basically maxing out the system and wasting all your hormonal sensitivity. Now, the reason your body becomes very, very sensitive to testosterone and your androgen receptors become more sensitive is very complex. You can research that in your own time, but I'll leave it at that because this video would go on forever because this stuff is very complex and I'm just trying to show you some of the basic science behind why testosterone becomes more sensitive in your system, why semen retention is going to boost your gains in the gym and how it's ultimately going to get you jacked and shredded. When you stop dumping your life force, your body becomes more efficient at using the testosterone that you already did produce. Higher androgen receptor sensitivity means your biology becomes more responsive to strength training, recovery, and muscle building signals. Again, you still have to train in the gym. You still have to eat the right foods. You still have to do all the fundamental things that you had to do previously to build an amazing body. You don't have to do retention to build a great physique. But I'm going to do retention energy. I can do retention anyway, but this is simply some of the benefits in the gym that I notice when I do retention. This is why the same workouts suddenly feel more productive and why you start showing visible progress faster. You also tap into a more primal masculine drive. It is a feeling that basically when you think about this feeling that you'll feel in your system, it feels like I must conquer. I must dominate something. I must fuck something up. But instead of fucking up, something in your life, you fuck up the weights. There's a deeper level that you can just drive to. And really that comes from a high level of testosterone in your system. And even more importantly, how sensitive you are to that testosterone. And the second reason semen retention is going to get you jacked as shit is because of dopamine sensitivity and how dopamine sensitivity plays into your motivation in the gym. Retention resets your brain's reward system. Understand, with anything that you want to pursue, any type of goal, sorry, I think there's a mosquito there. When you're chasing any goal, anything that you want to achieve, basically what you are utilizing is your brain's primal reward circuitry system. Basically, your mind says, I want to do this. I want to be motivated to do this. So it gives you almost like a mental reward for chasing after a goal. Dopamine is a very, very strange molecule because people usually think of dopamine as the molecule that gives you pleasure. But dopamine is not the molecule that gives you pleasure. Dopamine is the molecule that gives you pleasure for pursuing something. It feels good to chase after something. So, for example, when you go on a sketchy website, right? You don't get dopamine when you explode. You get dopamine in the build-up process, the thinking, oh, I'm gonna go on the website, typing it up, the watching of the video, because you're working your way up to a climax of the peak of dopamine, but the dopamine didn't come from the act itself, from the climax. It basically came from the buildup, from the chasing, because it rewards you for pursuing things. This is the same reward pathway that your body uses for any single thing that you could pursue. So if you start becoming more disciplined sexually speaking, you start holding your energy in. Not only do you raise your baseline testosterone, not only do you become more sensitive to testosterone, but also your dopamine receptors, just like your androgen receptors, become so much more sensitive because they have to be. Because when you're not overloading your body with way too much dopamine, it goes, okay, we can lower the bar for what gets us going. Because beforehand, you had to watch all sorts of crazy kinky videos. You had to like hook up with all these random women who are just like new and novel. That was the only way you could find joy or pleasure or masculine drive, is when you're chasing these videos or these women or whatever you were chasing, right? But when you cut that stuff off, you get disciplined with saying no to these vices. The bar for what gets you going gets gradually dropped. And this sounds like a bad thing, but it's actually a good thing. Because now, when you think about pursuing your goals, which in this case, what we're talking about is getting in the gym, building and just building a great physique, smashing the weights, packing on muscle, that thought gets you fucking going. And it all has to do with resetting your brain's reward system. Without constant artificial stimulation, your dopamine baseline will stabilize. Small wins feel rewarding once again. Training, eating clean, planning your day, staying consistent with the workouts and with your recovery. All of this stuff requires an internal sense of motivation. Yes, discipline will take you pretty far on your bad days, and you should build discipline. But discipline is simply about saying no to the bad habits so that you can save your dopamine for true internal drive and motivation, so that you don't have to try to do the good stuff. Like, dude, I can't help but go to the gym consistently. If I take a day off the gym, it's like the worst day of my fucking life. I cannot help but get into the gym and smash the weights because I'm so bored, because I'm so deprived of dopamine that all I want to do is make videos and go on walks and hit and smash the weights and hang out with good positive people. So we're talking about dopamine sensitivity in relation to how it basically relates to your progress in the gym. It's going to reset your dopamine system so you're more focused and more driven to take action towards the goal, which is building a great physique. But really, this applies to every single thing in your life. Everything becomes fun again. Some of the most simple things, just like enjoying a good meal, enjoying a great song on the way to the gym while sipping some pre-workout. It's a vibe. There's nothing better, but only if you get disciplined with how you're spending your motivation and your dopamine, because dopamine is the molecule for your motivation. Stop chasing cheap spikes and start chasing meaningful progress. It's not about having a life where you have no dopamine. I'm just saying, don't spend your dopamine on garbage, on websites, on women who do not deserve it, so you can actually chase the things that you know you want in your life, which I hope is building an awesome physique, because, getting pretty jacked is just kind of fun, right? I don't have the best physique of, anybody. I'm probably like a solid 6 out of 10 compared to some of the people who have really maximized their physiques. But from where I came from, I was fat. I was skinny fat really. Like I had no muscle on me, but I was also kind of chubby with little man titties as well. So I think I've made some pretty amazing, decent progress. And I really attribute this to semen retention. But again, it only worked because I did. This shift of resensitizing your dopamine in your brain, this shift alone turns you from someone trying to be disciplined into someone who naturally gravitates towards hard work. And that is the biggest takeaway from this point, and that's why I'll read it again. This shift alone turns you from someone trying to be disciplined into someone who naturally gravitates towards hard work. On to the next point. The third reason semen retention will get you jacked and juiced to the fucking gills is because of the mitochondrial force and life energy output. Your cells literally will run hotter. Understand that every single cell in your body not only runs on physical energy, it runs on carbohydrates, on lipids in the form of fat, amino acids, minerals, water, all these important things, and ATP, adenosine triphosphate. If you've ever heard in science class that the powerhouse of the cell is the mitochondria, and that the fuel of the mitochondria is ATP, this is correct. That's why people take creatine as a gym supplement, because it literally gives the fundamental baseline of your cell, the mitochondria, the part of your cell that produces energy, more fuel. That's what creatine does. But also there's a spiritual component, a very subtle life force that we have to take into account as well. It is a deep wellspring, a reservoir of life force, just pure, raw life force. And so simply when you become sexually disciplined, not only does your biology hormonally optimize itself, not only do you become more motivated because your dopamine becomes more sensitive, not only is your mitochondria more efficient at burning ATP and giving you more energy, but they are literally just ramping up their production on a literal, like a super subtle energetic layer as well. I was gonna say, if that car alarm goes on for the rest of the video, that would piss me the fuck off. Less energetic leakage leads to more mitochondrial efficiency, meaning more ATP, more vitality, and stronger daily performance. And what is one way or one space that you would drastically notice a change of stronger daily performance? The gym, I might think. You feel a deeper reservoir of physical stamina, mental sharpness, and sexual energy circulating upward instead of downward. It's not about saying that sexual licentiousness or spending your sexual energy downwards and outwards, I think you can figure out what I'm saying here, is bad or immoral, or that there's any shame around it. If you want to do what you want to do, then go do what you want to do. I'm not saying you can't look at the website. I'm just saying when you put a cork in it and you say, no, I'm going to hold this energy inside me as a reservoir, filling up the reservoir, filling up the tank inside of me, it's impossible for you to not notice. Because think about how you feel when you want to just go bust a freaking nut. You're just like, it's such a powerful feeling that imagine you were able to breathe through that. You were able to breathe through that urge. You were able to hold that energy inside of you. That energy doesn't just disappear. If you would have busted into a sock or busted it all over your freaking woman's face, then yeah, I guess it would have disappeared, but you held it in. You reintegrated it into your system. And over the course of multiple days, and especially multiple weeks and months, this energy doesn't just disappear. This energy will be used to create a life, or will be used to create your life, as I always say. But in this context, it will be used to create a great physique. Energy is energy is energy is energy. And it's simply energy. So when you hold the energy, you're going to have more energy to pursue the things that you want. Your cells at a fundamental base level, scientifically speaking, with ATP production, because of all the nutrients and minerals and stuff. Again, this is very complicated stuff. I'm vastly just grazing over this stuff, and I'm not an expert. But every single one of your cells needs these fundamental subtle building blocks to be able to produce energy. And when you hold in the highest quality form of that, every single cell is going to function better. Your brain is going to function better. You're going to fucking clarity and focus to smash the deadlifts, to just rep out those dips, to just bang out those pull-outs one after the other. And you will notice when you start going days and weeks and months holding your nuts in, there's just a deeper place you can push to when you're doing a set of pull-ups, when you're doing a set of deadlifts, when you're doing a set of squats. No matter how fatigued on the surface you are, I don't care whether you're caffeinated or not, underslept or not, there's a place you can push to. And the only thing that makes sense is the energetic and mitochondrial efficiency that starts happening in the cells because of you containing this type of energy in your system. You will feel a deeper reservoir of physical stamina, mental sharpness, and sexual energy circulating upward instead of downward. This translates directly into better pumps, stronger lifts, faster recovery, and an ability to push harder without burning out. You stop feeling like you're running on fumes and you start feeling like your body is a generator, because really, if we think about it, you're just a giant battery. You are simply a giant battery and generator of the energy that the battery is holding. So not only do you create your own energy, you can hold your own energy. And then when you're ready to deploy it, boom, you do it. The problem is most people, if they live unconsciously, their body generates some energy, it gets filled up in the battery, and then that voltage, it's literal voltage. You are literally a bioelectrical being. That voltage, that fire, that energy builds up in their system. And most guys, they're like, ooh, that's uncomfortable. What if you just held that energy? What if you just held that voltage? I don't think you'd be able to stay out of the gym. At least that's what I've experienced. Not only will it optimize your hormonal system by making your androgen receptors in your cells more sensitive to the testosterone, which is very important, increasing your testosterone. Not only is it gonna make you motivated, once again, not because you have to try to manufacture motivation with a bunch of caffeine and drugs and stimulants. No. True deep motivation, a wellspring, a reservoir of motivation that's always on tap for you to tap into. And thirdly, just the energetic efficiency that happens in every single one of your cells. This just sounds like the perfect recipe to build a great physique. And again, like I said, just because you hold your nuts in for 25 days doesn't necessarily mean that everything's gonna change, that you're gonna blow up and look like Ronnie Coleman. You can't look like Ronnie Coleman even if you did take substances that you would inject into your honey. And plus, you don't wanna look like that anyway. You don't wanna look like a juiced out bodybuilder. But to build an amazing, strong, lean, powerful, muscular physique, the physique of a Norse warrior, of a Greek god, you want to be strong and you want to be lean. You need high testosterone. You need motivation. And you need high energy. Paired with all of the things that you naturally need to build a great physique anyway. You got to hit the workouts. You got to eat good food. You have to get enough protein. You have to sleep 6 to 12 hours per night, depending on what your body needs. On retention, first of all, you're going to find you need way less sleep. You still have to prioritize sleep because sleep is very important, whether you're doing retention or not. I like to hit a good 8-9 hours per night, but sometimes you have so much energy you only get 6, and that's enough for the day. But dude, do retention. You won't be able to stay out of the fucking gym unless you have like a bunch of different creative hobbies that you're pursuing. I could potentially see that you could do retention and just, you have so many creative hobbies, so many social pursuits that you're spending your time and energy with that you don't need to get any sort of like extreme physical exertion out. But for me, even taking one day off the gym while I am on a nice long streak of retention, it's hard. Pun intended. Like, there's just so much energy. The first thing I want to do before I do anything else is just get a freaking pump on. It's just get a fat, juicy pump. And just imagine if lifting weights was that freaking fun. I mean, I'm going to assume most of you watching this video, it's pretty fun for you. Like, I love lifting weights. It's fun as crap for me. But not only is it fun when I'm kind of like mediocre energy, it's especially fun when you feel high testosterone, when you feel motivated, and when you just feel so full of energy, you feel like you're going to explode. You're going to paint the whole freaking room white. You're like freaking Picasso. that's when lifting is the most fun. So get sober, let your balls fill, sit in that fire, because I don't know, just maybe you'll get jacked as shit. Just an idea. Try it out. Take what resonates, leave the rest. And if it doesn't work for you, I guess it doesn't work for you. But this is simply my experience paired with the research I've done for the past 4 or 5 years. So hopefully I will see you in the community or in the next video or whatever. Anyway, buddy, it was my pleasure. So I will see you in the next video. Bye.